Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ulyssia if you're new here. And on my channel, I share my journey as a mom, trying to balance my career and life while inspiring moms along the way. So if you're into that type of content, be sure to hit subscribe down below. So today's video is going to be a little different. I've been getting a lot of questions in my DMs on Instagram as well as down in the comments on all of my videos asking me how I got into project management. So I figured I'd just sit down and record a video to answer all of your questions. So before I get started, I just wanted to know if I'm looking down, it's because I have my notes here on my iPad. I just want to make sure I don't forget any of your questions and that I'm able to answer as many as possible. Before I actually get into some of the questions, I just wanted to basically give you a background on my career and how I got into project management. I actually went to school for health administration, and while I was in school, I got a job working at one of our local ERs. And while working there in the business office, I soon realized that I did not want to do anything health related. I was originally pre-med, which is why I went to health administration, because I thought I wanted to do the business side of things. But while working in the ER, I determined that it just wasn't for me at all. So at that point in my career, I didn't know which direction I wanted to take. So I just continued on with my classes, and I graduated with my undergrad in health administration. I knew I wanted to go back and get my master's. I just wasn't sure which direction I wanted to take with it. So after I graduated, I continued to work at that same hospital, but in a different department for about another year or so before I just said, you know what, I just wanted to quit. I want to do my own thing. I want to be able to travel and just work wherever I want and not have to be confined to one location. At the time, I didn't have kids, so I thought it was a good idea to quit my job and just go all in on what I wanted to do. During that time, I was actually freelancing. So I was doing everything from virtual assistants to web design, graphics, all of that. I did everything. And I also had a little stint of me teaching English as a second language to some kids in China as well as Taiwan. So I literally did everything. And at this time, I didn't know it, but that was my first step of me like transitioning into project management, especially with me working with small businesses, being a virtual assistant and doing websites for them. After I did all of that, I decided, hey, it's time for me to go back to school. I need to get my life together because this isn't working. I'm not making money that I want to make doing this, so something has to give. I decided to go ahead and go back to school for my MBA. And while I was going through that MBA program, that is when I was formally introduced to project management. And I thought that I would be a great fit for this field. So I decided I was going to just apply to those positions while I was still working on my MBA. So the time that I actually started applying to project manager roles, I've never officially held the title of project manager. I did have project experience through my freelance work, but I've never officially been a project manager. So I don't personally think that you need to have experience to become a project manager. You just need to know how to articulate that your previous skills or your current skills can translate to the role that you're applying to. Which leads me to my next phase of this video, which is going to be me answering some of the questions that you guys have been asking me. One of the first questions that I received is, how did you become a project manager without your PMP? And was it difficult finding a job? So a lot of people have this misconception that you need to become a PMP before you can get a project manager job, which is actually far from the truth. You cannot become PMP certified until you've had at least 3 years experience being a project manager or working with projects in some type of variety. So no, you don't need to have PMP experience whatsoever. And I don't think that it was hard for me at all. After I started applying for jobs, I think it took me about 3 months to land a position. And that was with me really going all in on applying to only project manager roles instead of marketing roles. So yeah, I don't think it was difficult at all. The second question that I received is, how was the interview process? For my particular job that I actually accepted, it was a total of 3 interviews that I went through. The first interview was a phone screening with the recruiter. She basically asked me a few questions about my background and how it relates to project management, all that kind of stuff. The second interview that I had was actually with my manager and one of the PMs that worked with us at the time. And then the third interview was with the same two people again, just asking me additional questions to make sure that I'm a good culture fit for their team. For the other roles that I applied to and I actually interviewed for, it was a similar process. They usually go through about 2 to 3 rounds of interviews before they either extend an offer or let you know that you're just not a great fit for that position that you're applying for. The next question that I have is, could you give advice to someone new in this field, and how would you recommend that they get experience? Some advice that I would give to a new PM, if they've never held the title of an actual project manager, I would just make sure that you're staying on top of your comms with your clients. Make sure you're being as detailed as possible, that you follow through. Sometimes, especially if you have a lot of projects at one time, you can easily forget to follow up with one of your clients that's in your book of business. So I will say to either keep a to-do list or a weekly reminder to go through all of your current accounts, to go through all of your accounts that have active projects and just follow up with the client on a weekly basis. Say to give them a status report on the current projects, if there's anything that you need from them. Just basically keep in contact with your main stakeholders while the project is being executed on, so you're not worrying about, hey, is this project on track? Is there anything that I need to be aware of? That's the first thing that I would just recommend to a new PM. How to get experience as a project manager. If you're someone that's currently an undergrad and you're looking to start a PM role right after school, I would say you can either get an internship as a project manager, or you can go the non-traditional route like I did and freelance. There are tons and tons of small businesses that need help, whether that's being a virtual assistant, or there are even some that are requesting project managers on a contract basis. It's a great way to get your feet wet, to make sure this is something that you actually want to do. But at the same time, you're also getting that project experience, which you can then use on your resume to help you land a higher paying long-term position with a larger company. So that's just what I would do if I'm looking to gain experience. What education / program did I take in order to become a PM? As I said earlier in the video, my undergrad, I have a bachelor's degree in health services administration, and I have an MBA, just a general MBA. I don't personally think that you need to have a specific degree to become a project manager. It's all about having the actual skills that these recruiters and managers are looking for to basically be successful in the role for that company. This is a really good question. The next question is, can I become a tech project manager without a tech background or coding skills? Girl, I do not know how to code whatsoever. If I needed to code, then I would be a terrible project manager, because no. You do not need to code to be a project manager. 9 times out of 10, no matter what company you're going to go through some type of training that either trains you on the software that you're selling to the client, so that you can have at least a basic understanding of what it is that your analyst or your team does. You personally do not need to know how to code to be successful in your role. The last question that I have here is, can you tell me how you got into the field and the qualifications needed? I think this question and a few others that I received are similar to the last 3 questions that I just answered. But basically, I don't think that there are specific qualifications that are needed, that are like universal. Every position has a set of qualifications that are needed for that specific role. However, I do think if you want to become a project manager, that you have to be a good communicator. And by that, I mean that you need to know how to ask the right questions, how to pull answers from clients and internal teams to make sure that your team who's going to be executing the work has all the answers they need to actually execute on the work. You also need to know how to have difficult conversations with not only the internal team if they overstep boundaries, but also the client-facing team if they have unrealistic expectations for when a project can actually be delivered with the quality that you would like to deliver it with. And you also need to be comfortable with things not being on track. Like, as a project manager, most people think that you need to be really organized, which you do to a certain extent. You also need to know how to pivot and just make things work with the resources that you have. As you all know, in this current environment that we're in, a lot of companies are understaffed, and my company included. So there are a lot of times when we have project requests that come through and we just don't have anyone available to execute on the project for a few months out. So you just have to be able to pivot and get creative with finding the proper resourcing to be able to deliver to the client. But you also need to be able to let the client know, I'm sorry, but this is a very unrealistic timeline. We're not going to be able to meet this. Is there an alternate way that we can help you achieve your goals for whatever need that you have? And my time as officially holding this position as a project manager, I've learned, I would say 10 times more actually doing the job than I would say I learned in undergrad. In undergrad or even in my master's degree, because with my master's, there was a module that we went through where we went through project management. And I feel like having that hands-on experience would be the biggest lesson that you will ever receive in this field. And you have to be okay with change because things are always changing. Processes are always changing. Teams are always changing. You just have to be okay with change because being a project manager, especially once you get some decent experience, you're going to quickly learn that you can make a timeline, but the timeline is never going to go according to plan. No matter how much work you put into it, no matter how much you try to keep the team on track, something is always going to happen. That's just the nature of being a project manager. But yeah, those are all the questions that I received. I really hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any other questions that you would like me to answer, just please let me know down in the comments and I'll either make another video or I'll just respond to you down in the comments. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video.